Excellent. Well, welcome to this episode, whatever it is, of Stephen Has Questions.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, thank you. We're here with Jeff Herthner. Herthner.
Herther.
Herther. I don't know why I keep adding that in. And he does, he's a mechanic, he works on cars. Um, so, just as a reminder, I don't know what order these will end up in, but like anybody who does these things, half the reason they do it is just to make people aware of what they do personally. And, as an independent artist, that's what I'm doing. So I will be inserting little commercials here and there after the fact for my shit. If you, hopefully, it won't be too long or too annoying, but, if it does annoy you, too bad, because that's what I do. Anyway, we will begin with my standard opening question, which is so as a kid, what was the first thing, maybe related to this, maybe not, that you really got into, like that you felt that you had to know everything about?
So as a kid, I wanted to do like everything. You know what I mean? There's pictures of me in the firefighter getup and what have you. But one thing that really stuck with me for many years is to be an inventor and to
Mhm.
create things and to build things. And I got really good at taking things apart.
Mhm.
Never got so great at putting them back together, but I'm decent.
Oh, that's good.
So yeah, and then that did somehow lead into where I'm at today. It wasn't a conscious choice. It's just something that kind of happened organically, and pretty proud of that. Like
Good.
young me would be very happy with where I'm at.
That's one of those things that why are you sticking out? Go back on your shelf. Yeah, that's one of those things that I think about on a pretty regular basis, like 16-year-old me still be okay with kind of where I'm at, and since I'm basically doing exactly what I wanted to do then, I figure I'm doing all right. But it's a good test. I mean, unless you as a kid was a piece of shit or something. Uh,
Well,
we all have our illustrious moments of being pieces of shit. There's
right.
no judgment there, but you know what I mean. Uh, I personally wanted to be a fire truck. That would have been pretty cool. Um,
Being a fire truck would be pretty sweet.
yeah, like because then you get to do the whole thing with the hose and the arm and stuff. Um, so did you just when did you start getting into doing the car stuff?
So it was a fallback thing when I was young, when I was straight out of high school. It wasn't something that I wanted to do, but there was a local shop hiring, and I started doing tires and oil changes and things like that. And that was before I went away to the military. So,
Mhm.
and it was cool. It really got my interest going.
Right, right. Did that continue in the military? I know that they obviously have need for that sort of thing.
Yeah, there was a need for that sort of thing, but that wasn't the track I took. I had an idea of what I'd like to do, and the military has an idea of what they want you to do.
Right, yeah.
So those two things you don't always meet up very well, and I ended up doing ordnance and stuff like that
Mhm.
in the military, and really cool stuff. I really appreciate that kind of experience, but
How's your hearing?
it yeah, it it didn't come back to cars until I got out of the military, and I was like, man, what am I gonna do with my life? What am I gonna? Wait. Oh, I have this one skill where I did tires once upon a time, and yeah, I did some used tires straight out of the military, and used tires is probably the lowest end of our industry. It's the grime, and
When you say
I loved it.
you did use tires, what does that mean?
Yeah. So we sold used tires.
Oh, okay.
We're a pretty big operation. We'd move 100 to 150 tires a day, and that's a crazy number of tires. Be two, three, maybe four of us just mounting and balancing tires all day. And I use the term balancing very loosely. If it was close, we were good. It was a money making scheme. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I would never recommend buying used tires to anybody. I think it's buying somebody else's problems, but also the guy who sold people used tires. So
Hey, we were on tour once and we blew a tire. on our way to do a show in Fayetteville, Arkansas, and um, so all of us, the headlining act and stuff, we all pulled into to Bald Knob, Arkansas, which is exactly what you would think Bald Knob, Arkansas would be. And we rolled
I think I've
in.
been there. I've
Oh
been
yeah,
a little bit everywhere.
could be. And then and all of us looking, like this, right, falling out of these vans, and they got us back on the road. The place we went to got us back on the road, and we did that, and this was like a 2.5 month tour, and so like a few weeks later, we're pulling into LA, and tire goes bad again, and maybe it wasn't that, I don't know, but at some point, the tire goes bad, and we pull in, and they're like, "That wasn't even a van tire. I'm not sure what kind of tire that was. Like, it shouldn't have been on this. So I don't know what they gave you, but we're gonna get you going again." So yeah,
I would.
I can't complain. It did the job. We didn't die, so hey, that's cool. We got to the gig. So but yeah, I've had a bit of experience with that. So you worked your way up in the ranks.
Yeah, for sure. And
How
I
does
ended
that
up
work?
for several years. I kind of just ground, and I didn't really get anywhere. I do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and end up losing my position because I was the low man on a totem pole. Go somewhere else, start again, and it was just like grind, grind, grind. I never really got anywhere, and then I went back to school. I went for tech stuff, auto technician stuff, and it ended up that's where like my career really took the next step. And it's really a case of not what you know, but who you know. You know what I mean?
Hmm?
And being able to talk the talk and
Know your
like
line.
I I could always do the work, but like when you start off in a new shop, they're like, "Who are you? Who do you know?" And I'm like, "Man, I don't know nobody." And they're like, "Oh, okay. Well, we're gonna start you on the bottom." And I was like, "Okay, whatever. Just give me the room to work, and I'll work."
So do you feel that because this is one of the things that's popped up with a few of these now, do you feel that going to school for it really helped you get a leg up in the industry, just as far as like really learning how to do it properly?
It learning to do things properly helped, and knowing that end of it. I still struggle a little bit with that stuff. Like I'm more of a hands-on learner. I just
Mhm.
get in there and I tear things apart. It's not the smartest way to do things. I'm not the smartest individual in the world. But I've come a long way from slinging used tires. So
Right, right.
but like I said, the thing that helped with school is who you know.
Hmm.
And I got to know all these people and all these names. And when I go to a new shop, I'd be talking about somebody, and I'd say somebody's name, and they're like, "Oh, you know so and so," and I'm like, "Yeah," and so and so and so and so, and they're like, "Oh yeah, okay, okay," and then I had traction.
Right, right. Well, people judge you by the company you keep. So
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I've always said that if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. So like
absolutely.
I surround myself with really intelligent people. So when I look at where I'm at, I'm like, I'm
Honestly,
not the
like
smartest guy,
being
but
open to learning from I mean, that's part of why you're there in general. I mean, nobody is deposited into their or very, very few people are deposited into this place of work or whatever, and all of a sudden they're king shit. Like nobody wants that anyway. So I mean, like I am forever thankful to the people that like the bands we would go on tour with, like the first time we went on tour, then the first big tours, are all these people that are like, oh, you don't get that. Okay, this is how this works. Because and now like whenever I have a chance to do that, I'm always like, look, I love what I do. I want you to love doing it as much as I do. And so I am always like, it'd be so disrespectful to not pass the things that on. And when I teach art,
mhm.
or thing, it's like knowledge wants to be free and wants people want, it's we are all better off for I hate the idea of trade secrets and bullshit like that.
Yeah, I try to share everything I know with everybody who will
Right.
listen to me.
Yeah, yeah,
So
exactly. And yeah, the past few nights I've had people who are very, very good at whatever their vocation happens to be. A guy who does IT security, and then a chef, and it was they're very much of that it's like my chef friend Mike, he was like, yeah, I've got a guy who's he just wants to learn how the system works. He was like, I'll come in and do it for free or for very minimal pay if you'll just show me. And Mike's like, well, I don't really need anybody, but yeah, sure, come on, so you can learn how to do it because yeah,
Mhm.
teaching's fucking cool. So
Yeah, for sure. And
um,
that's
okay,
if my body ever wants to give out on me and not do this anymore because it's a very physically demanding job, there's always teaching.
hmm
You know what I mean? Let the body do its thing, and if I have to fall back, I have to fall back.
yeah.
I'll happily sit back and tell anybody who wants to listen.
hmm So I imagine then, how long have you been doing this professionally then?
That's a really hard question for me to answer because I don't not great with timekeeping and linearity of time and what have you. It's been 15 years though, maybe 20.
That works. That's kind of gives me so like I said, I really know dick about cars. Donna is the car person because she does all the tour management stuff and she's always on making she's been our she doesn't do the maintenance, but she's the one who interacts most with our vans and like we've been going to the same dealership and at one point she went in with the van. She's like, I think the timing belt's going bad. And one of the other employees there was like, oh, well, I don't know. And then the guy that she usually works with goes, she knows what she's talking about. It's probably the timing belt, like she's on the ball with that shit. So this is one of those places where I have to kind of really think about how to form it because I don't plan any of this. Uh,
Hmm.
and so I'm just going to kind of go with some of my experiences with vehicles as the basis for this. Over this time period, 15, 20 years or whatever, I imagine it has been a very drastic change as far going from, essentially the analog world to the digital world.
Right, right.
Um, are you still able to actually repair newer cars easily? Like, or is every single one going to be kind of different?
So they call it the 85-15 rule, and 15% of the shit's all the same shit every time, and 85% of it is something you're going to have to learn on the ball, on the go.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but there's such cool things happening with technology and things that like boggle my mind, and I have the faintest grasp on these things, and they're on the cutting edge of their field. One of my teachers is a pioneer in using in-cylinder pressure waveforms to diagnose cars, and that's where you like actually measure the pressure difference of the piston coming up and the valves opening, and you can see all of these different things happening in the cylinder, like
Mm-hmm.
as it's happening in real time. And this stuff boggles my mind. You know what I mean? But I understand what all of it means, and I understand how they're getting the information, and
Mm-hmm.
I get to look at we use oscilloscopes, and like lots of different industries and professions use oscilloscopes.
Mm-hmm.
You mostly see oscilloscopes in the back of old monster movies, just
Oh yeah.
showing you AC waveforms on them, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just AC power. Once you know, you're
Mm-hmm.
like, oh well, that's a silly thing to. You've got a oscilloscope behind you plugged into wall power. That's
I
pretty
used to
cool,
have
I guess.
a radium dial oscilloscope in our live rack, and it just ran whatever was going, on live through it. And it looked really, really cool. I probably would never be able to have kids because I'm always carrying, so always carrying it like that. It was old school tech enough that I
Yeah.
killed it. But it's nice. It's very refreshing. I feel to talk to somebody who's been doing this for long enough but you're still embracing the new technology and seeing the benefits that come from it versus resenting it because it's a new thing you have to learn or
Yeah.
whatever.
I've never been good at anything, right? So like when I have to learn something new, it's not a huge deal because I'm not good at it to start with. There's people that have that natural talent and they hit the road running. I'm not that guy.
Mm,
I work for what I got. I grind and I push and it works out for me. I mean, until my body gives up and then
right.
I'll do
No, I
something
think
else.
that's really good though. We were talking last night about this kind of about humility and because again, like I said, a lot of these people are top of their field, and I'm pretty good at what I do. Like I make a living doing it, so but there's also there is when you get to a certain point, it's very easy to come in and be like, "Oh yeah, I'm king shit," and I know this stuff, and that can so just fuck you up, and it's like after a certain point, maybe you have to go through that or whatever, but when you really can come to terms, it's like, well, yes, there are lots of things I know, but there's a world that I don't know, and being open to that, and and wanting it and enjoying it, learning is cool, like.
Absolutely.
That's been one of my favorite parts of, this is, I don't know, this is up to like 26 or 27 or whatever. Uh, and that's been just one of the common themes throughout all of this with the people that I've talked to about it. That one and the other one that I've liked a lot is the fact that most of the people that do this have kind of gone, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to do it anyway, and just been like, like not letting that keep you down. So, it's funny, I'm just kind of spitballing through thoughts on this. Uh, our last van, a taillight went out. Why? No.
Because you ride the brakes too much in the left lane.
No, but so what happened was though, we went to
No.
get it fixed, and they were like, "Oh yeah, in order to take care of that, we have to replace the entire side panel." And I remember just being on tour, years ago, and like, well, the headlights went out, and we just stopped in at like a Flying J or whatever, got the bulb, flopped it in, went on our merry way. So it's amazing to me the that change. But so what are your days like? Like I imagine everyone's different with every car that comes in.
Yeah, it's really just like a whatever comes in type thing. I I get such a wide variety of stuff. Like
Mhm.
people look at my variety and they're like, "Man, how do you work on that?" And I'm like, I don't know, man. I figure it out. Had a '82 DeLorean,
Oh
a
wow.
'69 Oldsmobile, and a 2019 Ford Transit E350 in the past week.
Hmm.
And you just work on whatever's in front of you. You know what I mean?
What kind of what? So what? What are the kinds of things that go
So
wrong with these things?
something like building on what you said about your taillight experience.
Mm.
It wasn't a car I worked on. It's a car my coworker worked on. But everything's happening in the same shop. We're all a team. We'll all push to get the ball over the goal line, so to speak. I don't sports, so all
Yeah,
my
I
sports
know people
metaphors are
enjoy
going to
it,
be
and I'm
real
happy
weird.
for them. But yeah,
Yeah, but he needed to replace a headlight on an Audi,
mm,
and it became a week and a half job.
mm,
And it was replace this module, test this, test that, replace that module, have everything reprogrammed and then reprogrammed again. And then we brought an outside guy in to do the reprogramming a third time. And modern cars get wild. They get
yeah,
wild with their computer systems. And it's cool to see, but it is frustrating to some
mm,
extent because you have to explain to the customer why her headlight out cost her $5,000. You know
right,
what I mean? And there's nothing you can say at that point that makes it better.
right,
There's
yeah,
nothing you can say that's like, oh yeah, no, that makes sense why that was $5,000. It's a lot of money for a headlight.
yeah,
I just got new wheels and tires for my personal car, and I spent a lot of money. But
mhm.
like what I spent, what it cost me versus what it cost somebody else, I'm like, I don't know how anybody does this.
That actually brings up an interesting question. Let's say that you you want to buy a vehicle and you want something that is relatively minimal for all of those kinds of things to maintain. I mean, does that even exist anymore?
To some extent, there's always been the safe choices, the Hondas and the Toyotas of the world, and you can get a Honda or a Toyota in a lot of fancy clothes or less fancy clothes. Um, that's one of the big trade secrets is a lot of vehicles are just the same vehicle wearing different clothes.
Hmm.
So there's that whole thing. But like the Hondas and the Toyotas, they're getting worse. They're getting so much worse. And we joke all the time that the fall of Toyota is going to be studied in the history books. Like
Worse in what
how
way?
did something build up to be the name and reliability and
Mhm.
then fall off a cliff?
Worse in what way? Are just less reliable? Like they're not as stable, or
Yeah, less reliable, more reliance on these computers that like they fail more often, but it's like it gets difficult to even like talk about all the negatives in the industry without feeling like I'm coming off like a grumpy old man. You know what I mean?
oh no, I
I'm not
mean,
old yet, but what's
you
that?
know what? But if you know what you're talking about, like it, there's a difference between complaining and stating facts.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
like
It's a fine line to walk there.
right.
You know, that's just a topic that's it, at the end of the day, whatever works for you the best is the best fit.
Right.
But the solid options will always be the Hondas and the Toyotas and the even with them slipping, everybody's slipping.
Hmm.
Materials aren't as good as they used to be.
Right.
Like down to the nitty gritty, things are built to a price point, and that
Hmm.
and the customer demands that price point go lower and lower, and the builder of the product either does it or somebody else will.
Right.
So
We've been really lucky. Like we've been touring with minivans for 25 years, and I think we're on maybe our fourth one. The first one we did like 300 and something thousand miles on it with multiple engine replacements over it, but when we're still able to go until it went feral and tried to kill Donna.
was
Um,
it a Grand Caravan?
yeah, actually, I think it was. Yeah.
That
Um,
makes sense.
and hold on, let me ask Donna real quick something. I'll be right back. Right. So as always, you can find prints, original artwork, T-shirt, tarot deck, whatever else we're selling at any given time at egolikeness.bigcartel.com. You can find all the latest news about stuff, egolikenessband.com. We are on Bandcamp, egolikeness.bandcamp.com. Stoneburner is stoneburnerofficial.bandcamp.com. All of my projects are under Wolfcore Records. So it's wolfcore-records.bandcamp.com or stevenarcher.bandcamp.com, etc. We're pretty easy to find. You can find our books on Amazon. We're published through Raw Dog Screaming Press. Ego is currently on Metropolis Records. Stoneburner is currently on Cop International. And we're also pretty easy to find on the social networks where they're under our names. Steven Archer, Donna Lynch on Facebook. We're on Instagram, Ego Likeness, Art and Music with little underscores between each letter or between each word. And then Donna's got us on Bluetooth. Donna's got us on Blue Sky as well. This is like the fifth of these I've recorded, so this is the one I'm using.
Evolution to watch, but like if Dodge is one of those companies that just gives the customers what they want. You know what I mean? They'll sell you the same car in 20 different shapes, and
Right.
the one customers pick is the one they keep building.
Mm-hmm. And
So
the people that we go to repair, like we've just got such a good relationship with them that like, and she is so good about maintenance. Like that's the other part of it. It's like she is on it. If something needs to be fixed, it gets fixed as soon as there's a thing about it. And I imagine that goes a very long way towards keeping that longevity.
it absolutely does. That's with anything. You take care
Mhm.
of it, it's going to pay you back. There's some cars that I don't understand how people get their money's worth out of,
Mhm.
but value subjective, right?
Right, yeah.
And if you feel like you're getting it out of it, then who's to say any different?
Okay, so and let's go to the hot topic of the Cybertruck then. Like
Did you
from
see the death boomerangs?
no.
Okay, so the upper sail panel, this big point,
Yeah,
is
yeah.
flying off the things because it's attached with cheap
Blue,
adhesive.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And everybody's in my world, everybody's making the jokes of Danny DeVito in Matilda gluing the bumper on, going, in a perfect world, we'd weld this on. But in our world, it's cheap and it's efficient. And she's like, won't it fall off? And he goes, yeah. And she goes, isn't that dangerous? And he goes, not to me.
Well, that's a good point. So,
They already have your
'cause, like,
money.
from the outside, all I hear is they're pieces of crap. So from the inside, they're pieces of crap.
It is surprising how fast and far Tesla has come in such a short amount of time. It's something to behold. They're not necessarily better
Their
or
regular
worse than
vehicles,
anything else.
their cars are fine, right? Like the cars seem
Yeah,
to be pretty
they're
stable.
they're all fine. If you try to take them out of their realm of use, they show their ass, so to speak,
Right,
very
right.
quickly. But who's buying a Cybertruck to tow anything? Who's
Well, I guess that's the thing. Like if you're advertising a truck as a utility vehicle, and I am very much of the I beat shit up. Like I play a Les Paul from like 1989 because you can't kill it. I mean, I've done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of shows with it, and the worst thing that's happened is there's some belt buckle rash along the top back of it from when I move it. Like I can't even tell you the amount of times it's gone flying or other bullshit. And that's the kind of thing that I really like. It's like if I buy something, I'm going to buy the thing that I can't kill. Um, I guess
in that case, what you want is a 1987 Toyota Tacoma with a 4-cylinder and a 5-speed.
mhm,
You're never going to kill the thing. You can beat it up as much as you want. It's never going to be fast.
right,
It's never going to be showy. It's probably going to have all the panels rotting off of it, but it will never die.
right. And
So
I'm a
like
like I'm a big fan of that shit.
it's a give and take, you
I'm
know.
so over. I've just never been all that worried about people's opinions. So from that standpoint, I feel like it fucking works. It's paid for. It fucking works. Who gives a shit? The other thing that I think that is that if we ever really had the money to do it, I would get like one of those Sprinter vans, like those for touring. I think those would be really really nice.
And the people that have them like them, but they're
Mhm.
usually Mercedes people.
Right.
The non-Mercedes people have complaints about the Mercedes problems. And like
And
that's
Mercedes problems are there.
oh, there's all kinds of Mercedes problems. There's all kinds of communication errors and modules that need to be such and such and so and so.
A
And
little like digital shit.
yeah, like, but there's a module for everything.
Mhm.
Your window has a module
Right.
to tell the window where the top and the bottom is. The anti-pinch feature, it used to be a mechanical thing. Now it
Mhm.
measures resistance
Right.
across a circuit. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
it's like, oh, I'm working too hard. It's something I'm gonna hurt.
Right.
So like a lot of it is regulation and a lot of it is just ease, cheap. We can
Mhm.
give the customer more options, more gadgets and doodads that keep them coming back to buy the next year. That's the
Right.
same car as it was last year. But now when you do this thing, this other thing happens, and
Right.
oh yeah, sweet, let's get that.
There have been like Rick, our guitarist, he got something new. I want to say it might have been a BMW actually recently, and it's got all the cameras around it, so it can actually you can see that 360-degree view on your back. Like that's one of those things that like see that to me that seems ridiculously practical. I'm cool with that. You know, I hate whereas Derek, the guy I was talking to last night, he was like, I drive a Tesla because it was the best option for what I do. I know Elon Musk is garbage, but this works. He was like, but the bullshit part of it was that because I guess there are now features in the newer versions that aren't, or no, there were features in the older ones that aren't in the newer ones. So the old ones are disabled. Like there was stuff that the thing could do that now it can't just because they don't support it anymore. And that to me just seems insane. Like,
They could turn off all those cars with a switch.
yeah, yeah, that's crazy to me.
And it's weird, right? Because the people who were normally very conspiracy minded have become not very conspiracy minded when it comes to this one particular topic. And
Yeah, I
it's
can't
like,
imagine why. Um,
that's really weird.
yeah, it's absolute power and all that.
Yeah, I think as long as the billionaire's saying what that person wants to hear, then they're not against billionaires. They're just against the ones that are against the things that they think they want.
Yeah, yeah, it's a shit situation all around. Yeah, it's just a shit situation, and it's not something that I'm actually part of the reason I am doing this series is because of this, because it's very easy to get into a very
Lost in the negativities.
yeah. There's so much bad going on, and I've got it's on the first video for this. There's this preamble where I'm just like I'm look, I'm not going to do this for every episode, but this is why this exists, and part of it for me is it's like look, it's kind of like back when lockdown happened. It was like really easy to kind of just get you know this insular sort of thing. And I was so like for me, it's kind of going, hey, look, humans are like society is people, and there's people out here doing really cool shit, and that passion, that love for whatever the thing is, and it really doesn't seem to matter too much. It is infectious, and
Yeah.
if I can do something that helps remind people of that or helps people discover something that maybe they haven't. Like I think about that a lot. Like all the people that just kind of live their lives without finding whatever that thing that just hooks in you and won't get out. So my hope is that maybe people will see it and be open, like, oh, hey, yeah, like this thing that I discovered once 20 years ago, I should go back to that.
Yeah, like I said, being a mad scientist, like
Mhm.
that's kind of my what I always wanted to be, and then I didn't. I realized that I can't make a living just doing mad science in my backyard. So now I'm working on cars, and it's a little bit like mad science.
Mhm.
I all the time I tell people that I'm going to do this, this, and this, and they're like, "That's not going to work." And I'm like, "All right, well, let's find out."
Yeah. So
And
let's
then it
talk about
does,
that.
and then
Yeah.
they're like, "Well,
What kind
I
of
guess I
lateral
was wrong."
solutions have you had to kind of put together in order to solve problems?
Oh, I mean, all kinds of things. Like the job in its corest essence is problem solving,
Hmm.
is looking at a problem and figuring out what needs to be done to correct it. But like the passion things are like the new wheels and tires for my own personal car. The even wheels and tires for somebody else's new, fast, cool car. Like that's really cool stuff. We have a lot of fun putting, all kinds of crazy stuff together. And when I was like, hey, I'm going to get these pilot wheels for my Acura, they're like, I don't think those are going to work. And I'm like, I don't know if they're going to work or not, but I'm pretty sure. And I'm willing to wager,
What are pilot?
$1,200. What's that?
What are they?
Wheels? They're
Pilot? You
just,
said pilot wheels?
yeah, Honda Pilot.
Oh, okay. So it's just
So,
for a different kind of car.
yeah, yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
So I was thinking, like I don't know. For some reason, I was like picturing something to do with
You
planes.
thought it was like a brand or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, or just some sort of term. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like cross platform stuff usually interests me. I'm very into original equipment wheels on things that they don't belong on. I'm part of a huge Facebook group called OEM wheels on other makes and models, and that's just all kinds of weird stuff. I have a 1987 Toyota van. I don't know if you've ever even seen a Toyota van, but it has Honda wheels on it and
Mhm.
big old spacers. And people are like, "Why has it got Honda wheels on?" I'm like, "I had them. They're the same.
Are they
Stop
round?
me."
Do they go? Yeah,
They're round and they go great. They go vroom very hard.
that's cool. So, do you have to adjust stuff like with the way they fit onto the vehicle? Like, do you have to adjust the
Yeah,
and all the other crap?
the wheels in theory, in very basic theory, should have been just go put them on and go. I found out the hard way because I wasn't paying close enough attention that they're not put them on and go. The caliper bracket doesn't clear, and you know,
Which means
I
what?
got to. I got to work on a 2020 Pilot this morning, so I got to actually measure things and look at things, and I'm like, man, they just ground out an extra like 3 mil right here.
Mhm.
And I had the night before, I had already done that to my calipers, and now the wheels fit. They fit great. But like, there's just all those little things that like some people will be like, "Oh, you ground on a caliper bracket. You shouldn't do that." And I'm like, "No, yeah, I probably shouldn't, but it's a little bit, and it's only here. I'm fine. It'll be all right." And it's my car. As long
Yeah.
as it's my car, I don't. I take a lot of risks with my own vehicles and my own safety that I'm not willing to take on a customer's vehicle. And like when it comes to a customer's vehicle, there's plenty of things that have to be changed and modified and messed with too. But it has to be done in a way that's
Right.
smart and professional. And
Right.
my main goal in working on cars as a profession is, hey, if somebody else takes this apart, they're not going to be like, what hack worked on
Right.
this? They're going to be like, okay, has this been taken apart before? I'm not quite sure. Oh yeah, okay. So this is out of place and that's out of place. Obviously, somebody's been in here before.
Right.
But like, you have to be really knowledgeable about that platform to tell that my fingers were all in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's funny. Last night, Derek, who, like I was saying, he does like really hardcore IT security, and he was like, "So I know all of the shortcuts that I take with my programming. So when I am trying to get into a system or whatever, I kind of think, okay, how would I have done this?" And like, so you start looking for those gaps, as it were.
Vulnerabilities.
Yeah, yeah. Or for myself as a visual artist, as a painter, like I am of the fundamental belief that artists are by nature lazy because part of my
Everybody's lazy. The human animal is by nature lazy.
sure. But like for because everything I do, it's like it's on spec, so I make the thing and then hope it sells, right? So it benefits me to do a lot of these, a lot of paintings, a lot of whatever. Uh, so anything I can figure out a way to like shortcut, like using a projector to block out a painting first and then drawing it on instead of just sitting there and drawing and erasing and drawing and erasing it. So like I'm a big fan of like, but knowing those things, like knowing the okay, here's where like viable shortcuts can work in order to accomplish, get you to here, get you to fixed, get you to safe,
Yep.
Um, so have you
And
ever
safe's a big thing. People are doing 80 miles an hour in
yeah,
these 3,000-pound death machines. You know what I mean? Like, cars are not natural. They're very outside the natural world. The whole natural world's like, what the fuck have you done? And
I am forever amazed watching people driving, because we're everywhere in the country, and just it's amazing to me how short-sighted or how just like, I mean, anybody who's ever had to get somewhere in a hurry, that like even if you're going 10, 20 miles an hour, you're like cutting a minute at most off of when you're going to get there. So yeah, it may feel like you're being like really active in trying to get to where you're going, but it's like, yeah, you saved yourself a minute and you almost killed like 10 people. So
that's me usually. I'm a racer. I push my things, but it's not to get there earlier. It's to
well, I
enjoy
also
the
assume
drop.
that you're like, if you're doing it, you're going to have to do it, do it in a controlled environment.
Well, I am fairly safe. Some people who've ridden with me might disagree, but I'm fairly safe when it comes to the road.
Mhm.
All right. There is race days. I race lemons, 24 hours of lemons.
I mean, I understand what a lemon is, but what's the event?
So 24 hours of lemons is a group of races all over the country where people buy terrible little beater cars for $500 and race them against each other. And it's Burning Man meets racing.
Hmm.
And lemons is a little bit more Burning Man, and then there's other series that are a little bit more racing.
Hmm.
But it's Burning Man meets racing. And we get together, we do ridiculous things with ridiculous cars, and we do it on a track safely where we have full safety gear, and that's where I go to let out and to let go and just push the car. And by the end of it, I drive home and I'm doing 5 under. I'm like, I don't want to go fast anymore. I'm done. I'm done. Eh, It's probably just me, but I don't know. On the way to the track, everybody's moving pretty quick, and on
Oh,
the way
sure,
home
all
from the
hyped up,
track,
Yeah.
everybody's like, "All right, I left the quickness out there. I'm tired.
Yeah,
I want to
well,
go
the
slow."
adrenaline's gone. Yeah, absolutely. Is it uh how often are there like catastrophic crashes or whatever with something like that? Is that
It
targeted
it
or
happens.
yeah.
It happens when you're pushing these things. While I was on track, probably my first second year, we had a car flip like 3 or 4 times. I'll send you the video.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
dude, they'll
wild
tag it
because
onto the end. So,
yeah, there's the cars just and there's in dash or in car footage of the front of the crash and the back of the crash. It's wild. It's wild that, but these things happen. You know what I mean? And that guy walked home. He was angry. The
right.
car was flagged from the racing series because anytime you put it on the roof, you're done. Um,
Seems reasonable.
but yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
Hmm.
And he was very happy that he put the time and the money and the effort into the roll cage and the safety.
Hmm.
Just, angry that he doesn't get to race his car anymore.
So how much so you're saying just I know you kind of just pulled the number but like a $500 car, right? So how much goes into then taking that and fitting it so it's safe?
So the $500 thing is a little bit of a misnomer now. That used to be the rule, the hard
Oh,
fast
okay.
rule. You can only spend $500 on the car. The $500 is the car, everything you put into it, the wheels, the tires, the brakes, except for safety. And
That's
you
really
could
cool.
argue that tires are safety, the roll cage is safety, the fire suppression system safety,
Right.
your safety gears all safety. All those things they're budget exempt. But the
Hmm.
car had to be $500. Now the joke is $500 my ass. Like everybody's got a lot of money tied up into these cars.
Hmm.
And it sucks when things happen, but they still look like beaters. You know what I mean? You don't look at the team I ran was called the Frankenvet, and it was a 1981 Chevy Chevette. And you
Hmm.
don't look at the Chevette and go, "Oh, that's a race car," but it was wide bodied. It had these big Frankenstein fenders on it. I love the thing. I
Hmm.
still love it to death. I'm not with the team anymore, but I love the car. It's an art project. Like I
Right,
said,
right.
I'll send you a couple things after the show,
Yeah, yeah.
and you'll be like, "Oh, okay, okay, I see what he's talking about."
Hmm.
But it was made out of parts and pieces of other cars.
Hmm.
That's what we did, and we were good at it. You know what I mean? I'm still good at it.
Right.
I take parts and pieces of other cars. The other thing I think you'd think was really cool is to look into Dodgy bonds, and the Dodgy bonds are Dodge vans that the U.S. Army shipped over to Japan and then just left there because they were done with them.
Hmm.
And then they got sold to the public, and people used them to take their dirt bikes to the racetrack on the weekends. And then they're like, "Hey, we all got these vans. Let's go race the vans." And then they grew into a style of their own,
Hmm.
right? And the Dodgy Bond is super cool. It's something that's really, really close to me. I love the aesthetic. I love the the Japanese celebration of an American love of the van. You know what I mean? These big, giant Dodge vans. And Dodgy is just how they said Dodge, Dodge. To them is Dodgy, you know?
Yeah, I tend
So
to like
Dodgy,
anything that's really excessive, like like and the people that love those excessive things, unless it's like obviously something like really dangerous or whatever, but like like the whole and
it's
just
a
talking
little dangerous to
Japanese
race vans.
vehicle culture, like those giant trucks with all the lights and stuff on it, like that shit's insane. I am not a car person, but I can respect the hell out of that. Like that's a huge commitment. So,
Yeah. And then so the Toyota van, I call it my Yoda Bond, is a Japanese van in America as a tribute to the Japanese love of the American vans in Japan.
right on.
So it's all love all the way around.
Yeah, yeah. That's one of those things that I was talking about or talking with a guy who does it's not professional wrestling in that he's part of the WWF. It's like an independent professional wrestling, I guess. And I the thing about all of these things is like he was talking about how like you go in and you do your thing, but it's you're just doing the thing, you're enjoying it, and or like if you're going in and boxing, you're boxing somebody you actually like, and everything else is just part of the thing, and I think that that's so fucking cool when you find these people and all of a sudden you have this common language, like and like I get into it with gear or art stuff or whatever, it's like, I can nerd out about paint with somebody and like, oh yeah, I'm using this kind of oil paint, blah, blah, or whatever. So, I think it's so amazing when it does transcend language, it does transcend culture, because it's its own little thing, I guess.
Yep.
So, so with these, with the lemons, um, do you ever do the thing, or do they do the thing where it's like basically it's a completely different car on the inside, like and then we're dropping this kind of lemon exterior on it?
So we call those hat cars,
Hmm.
and they happen often. They happen in all kinds of different motorsports and stuff. I just recently went up to watch my coworker drift, and somebody has a boat on top of a BMW 5 Series, and it just looks like a boat out there drifting, and it's like that's really cool. This is really cool. So like we do that. There's a guy who's in Lemons who's very famous for them. His name's Speedy Cop. He did an upside down Camaro. You've probably seen this Camaro
Oh,
racing
yeah.
around corners, just pictures of it. They float everywhere. And that's a guy I've met, you know what I mean? That's Speedy Cop. He's a wild guy, but he's really cool.
Yeah, I remember at one point when I was younger or whatever, and I like because I grew up in the 80s and monster trucks were the thing, and then, it's not something I ever really paid attention to other than I know they exist. And then one day I caught footage of something. I was like, those aren't even trucks at this point. Like, whatever it is, like, those are their own things. And then there's a truck body attached to it. Like, and it's not even that, it's like
I
this
mean,
idea
that's
of a
NASCAR
truck.
too.
So, but yeah, that was pretty, I don't know. That's just pretty impressive. Like again, I like it on principle. It's never something I would watch, but I'm sure I'd enjoy the hell out of it if I went to one of the things because it's just like so over the top. Um,
I get a feeling you'd like the atmosphere too. I mean, we're like I said, it's Burning Man with racing. So
yeah, as long as it's yeah. I mean, we so we're in Maryland, right? And one year we were over on the Eastern Shore in Delaware, and we went to the Pumpkin Chunkin Festival. And I imagine it's a very, very similar thing. It's just like it's a bunch of dudes with weird crop machines firing pumpkins.
yep. I've
Um,
seen it.
yeah.
I'm up in PA. We race in New Jersey at NJMP. It's in southern New Jersey. Happens in a couple months now. I'm not on a team currently, so like I'm not super paying attention to it. Um, but it's an absolute blast.
We so we go up 83 to when we're going up to Lancaster. So we'll go up 83, I think. No, but there's a back route that we go to, and we go by up on this hill on one side. There is some sort of like dirt racing track that we drive by. I want to say it does like you know just derbies where they run into each other and shit like that. I don't know if you're familiar. Like I know it's not a lot of information, but I don't know if you're
No,
familiar.
I mean all that stuff happens all over the country.
It's amazing to me that that's
They
legal.
they say that the first car race happened when they built the second car. You know
Right?
what I mean?
Mhm.
Okay, we got two of them. Let's see who's the faster.
Oh man, I saw something about like
It's
one of the first car accidents, and they were going like 5 miles an hour or something like that. Yeah.
and it was gnarly because 5 miles an hour was fast. That
Oh
was
yeah.
more like that's somebody running. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's like,
Oh yeah. I
how
was
can
I
you
was a
move?
bike courier for a bunch of years, and I'd go pretty fucking fast, and I know what it's like to stop, sudden deceleration trauma, So yeah, it's even those little it doesn't seem like it at the time, but yeah, even those little or for you from the outside, but lower speeds are still gonna fuck your ass up.
Well, I mean, and we made a bunch of movements forward in history with crash structures and crumple zones, and
Yeah.
there's a really cool video of an old Malibu and a new Malibu being run into each other, and
Mhm.
the person in the old car would have been dead.
Yeah.
100%. There's
Yeah, and
there's
that's one of
just
the
so
things
many things we've done
hmm
for the human meat sack behind the 3,000 pound death machine. You know what I mean?
And that's something that I see online from time to time. I've been actively trying to avoid the feed in Facebook because people are fucking stupid. But I used to see stuff where, somebody would post like, "Oh, we're never going to have cars like, whatever the thing is, from back in the day. Now the new ones are like, they break if you bump them with something. It's like, yeah, but the people inside are still alive in this one, and in that one, they're jelly.
Yep.
So like,
Transfer of energy is real.
yeah, yeah,
Energy's got to go somewhere.
right, yeah,
It's neither created nor destroyed, right? So got to go somewhere.
yep.
Hopefully, it's not in the fleshy, meaty bits in the middle of the car.
Before we switched over to our van, we had a Volvo, and that thing was a fucking brick. Like you couldn't kill it.
Incredibly strong tanks.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Volvos in 24 hours 11s. So
Mhm.
it's a popular car.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm really big on practical, so have you ever had anything come in where like, I don't know, a customer or another mechanic like just fucked it up raw, really
All the
bad?
time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Hmm.
Like something I've been thinking about for a while now is I don't know if you've ever heard of Dr. Stop, John Stop. He was an old 40s, I believe 40s era army doctor. He is the one who coined Murphy's Law, or at least claims to have coined Murphy's Law. He had a bunch of different laws written down in one of his many books. You can go and see a whole section on him in the National Air and Space Museum. He's a great man. He's why we know what happens to the body
Hmm.
on acceleration and deceleration. They thought like you'd hit 200 miles an hour and just turn to jelly. And he strapped himself to a sled in the desert and proved that that's not how it works.
Yeah.
Uh, but his Stopp's law isn't as well known as Murphy's law, and it's the universal aptitude for ineptitude makes any human accomplishment a simple miracle.
Hmm.
And you see that all the time. It's just people do some of the wildest things, and you're like, how did this make sense to you? How
Right.
did how did how did you continue to walk down this path and go, yeah, no, it's fine. It's still fine. And I'm sure there have been people who've taken my work apart, you know, years after I've worked on it and went, How did you think this was a good idea?
Right.
What led to this series of decisions that led to this, what I'm working on now?
Right. Yeah, it's always amazing to me, like all the things that you don't know.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, I always tell people like anything I do right, it's because I've done it wrong every other way possible. Like it's just and you learn from it, and that's the big thing right there. And I think that ultimately the key to any of it is just like last night we were talking about the different sort of failures. It's like, yeah, you can have like there's never really a failure. You can use it as a term like, oh, that machine failed or whatever. But for yourself, for personal experience, it's like it really seems to only be a failure if like you don't learn from it. And as long as you could even just learn, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. It's too complex or it's not my thing, whatever. That's that. I wouldn't even call that a failure. But like so many people will get destroyed if they do something and they feel like a personal failure on their part, like they screwed up and they'll feel humiliated or whatever. But I never really look at it like that's okay. Now you know that that didn't work, and that's okay. Shit happens. We all fuck up. So
Now
yeah,
I'm going to touch the pot again.
Hmm?
The last 6 times I've touched the pot, it was hot, but
Hmm.
I'm gonna touch
Oh,
it
right.
again
Yeah.
just to make sure that it's still hot.
There's a real interesting argument about, whether or not free will is a thing. And, part of that, it has to do with how, in order for every action in your brain and your body to happen, a neuron has to fire, and they're not firing consciously. Um, so technically, no, you don't know. Like everything that you do, every movement that I'm making right now, I'm not thinking about it. My brain is firing and doing these things.
Hmm.
But part of how it works is that your brain's also really sneaky, and it convinces you that you're doing it. But when we get into it, it's like, maybe there may not be actual free will, but I think there's a lot of retroactive free will where it's like, yeah, like when I was a kid, I went to visit my mom's office one day and I touched the the um the bottom of where the coffee pot usually sat and like burnt the shit out. I still have a scar from it. And yeah, and then you're like, oh, okay, don't fucking do that, and there's your free will right there. It's like, okay, I learned I'm not going to do that because I know, how it all works out. Um, so yeah, absolutely.
And then the free will end of it is I'd keep touching it.
Well,
Nobody can tell me I can't.
it's a
So
choice. Yeah, it's like because generally for anything, I genuinely believe this, and it pisses people off when I say it. It's like you have to get more out of something than you put into it, or you're going to resent it, and that applies to everything. And so, if you're kind of continually doing an action that is harmful to yourself, then some part of you is using that as a way of reminding you, like, oh, well, you can't control me. I'm going to do this. I'm going to destroy myself just to prove to you that I'm in charge and not you,
yep.
which is a good chunk of, I think, what's going wrong right now in the world. But like, it's just using that analogy to somebody who's like, this is like an adult saying, well, I can't play with that toy because you're playing with it, so I'm going to destroy it. Like it's just one of those things. But as long as it doesn't hurt people, go fuck. Hurt yourself. That's fine. Whatever. Like,
Yeah, I mean, plenty of people are into that.
oh
No
yeah, yeah, yeah,
judgments.
no, absolutely. And I think, and it's one of those things that really separates out adults. Like you have a kid, right?
Yeah,
So like that.
two
Well,
kids.
I don't, but I have a very tenuous career, so it's kind of like a similar sort of thing. Like I have to make all these choices, and if I'm not really careful, I'll fuck my life up. But now
Right,
you have to now have something bigger than you, bigger and
right.
more important than those things, and so you have to learn how to, you know,
Yeah, I mean,
because
so they're not my kids, but they're my kids. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, absolutely,
So like, and I I feel it the most when I see parts of my behavior and parts of my personality that I'm not as cool with come back at me from them.
right.
And
Yeah,
I'm like,
imagine.
oh, that's right. I'm a smart ass.
Yeah,
And you grew up
learned it from you,
watching.
Dad.
Yeah. I mean, I've, I've always been told I'm quick witted. And, I like when you see it fired back at you and the next generation's faster and better, you're like, damn.
Mhm.
Damn, I should have held something back because I'm getting roasted out here.
Well, you always want your kids to do better than you did, so
I mean, that's a low bar. I want them to make themselves happy, but
of course. Yeah, but like for me, like growing up, I've got ADD, I'm autistic, and I've got all these other fucked up problems. And so getting married, to my wife, she was the first person that I'd ever been with who essentially, and this is a very short version of the story, but grabbed me and went, "You're not going to treat me like an asshole." And I was like, oh, okay, all right, I guess I have to change, and both of us have done that to each other at various times, but I mean, it is like having that outside thing that kind of that you do want to get better for, which is fucking
snaps
cool.
you out of your selfness.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I think, like particularly when you have the problems that I do, and you are an artist, it's so solipsistic because everything is coming out of you into this thing, and so it's very, very easy to get like high on your own supply. And so yeah, like Donna has always been done a fantastic job of kind of, hey, you can't be that person that maybe you are instinctually, and having to learn how to do that and turn it into actual real thoughts and real changes inside versus I'm doing it because I just want you to be happy. Like it's like, no,
Right.
I'm doing it because I want to be a better partner or a better father or whatever, and that's fucking cool.
Yep. I'm always searching for ways to make myself better. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Better than I was yesterday.
Mhm.
And even if we slip back a little bit, better than I was yesterday.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's where
Okay.
that failure thing comes in. It's like, okay, did you learn? Cool. All right. Then that is better.
Yep. We've all got our issues. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? I've got ADHD, and a bunch of other doctors slapped a bunch of other labels on me that I'm not quite sure ever fit. But they thought they fit at the time. So yeah, like I do the best I can with what I was given, and
Yeah, yeah.
sometimes it's a shortcoming, and sometimes they're like, man, why can't you like stay on this train of thought? And I'm like, man, somebody threw a shiny ball past my attention span, and I have to go chase the ball. I'll be
Yeah.
back, maybe, if I can remember to be back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be
Yeah.
back. But
Yeah, yeah. Well, I don't know if you're on meds for it or not, but I can tell you that going on meds for it changed my life and made me an infinitely better person. And because the way I always describe it is like it gives you the extra half a second to think before you respond. So you're kind of able to go, oh, I can choose to be an asshole. Cool. As opposed to just being an asshole. And that's just the beginning of it. And I know for me, I mean, one of those things, it's like the sooner you do that, the better, because the longer you let it go, and then if you decide to do it, one of the most awful feelings I ever experienced was going on the meds, and I was fine for like 2 weeks. I was like, cool, I feel really empowered. I'm doing great. And then I was like, wow, I wish I had done this sooner. And I was like, if I had done this sooner, I wouldn't have done all of these other things that was me being a real dick to people, or maybe anyway. And now I feel like shit. And the
yeah.
longer that you kind of wait on that, like the worse obviously it's going to get. So that's something I wouldn't wish on anybody. Like that, like really, it was this. You know how you lie in bed and you remember all the stupid things you said. It's like that,
Mhm.
but all at once, and it's for
Yep.
your life to that point. So I can't I can't recommend it enough. It's really great, which has nothing to do with cars. So we should return to the subject. Um, no, well, it's awesome. It sounds like you've got a job that you really enjoy, and and it does all of the tickles all of the parts that you want and that you're invested in, which is fucking cool.
Yep. I get to build things. I get to problem solve. I get to the crazy screens that I saw behind all the mad scientists I loved. Like, not only do I know what those things were supposed to be, but I get to do that on cars, and I get to watch electrical signals passing through wires, and I
Yeah.
get to visibly see it. It's a wild thing. You know what I mean? I I have a needle phobia from early on in life,
Huh?
and uh, I was getting physical therapy, and they had like a probe stuck in my back, and they could show me the electrical currents going down my arm, and
Mhm.
I was really enthralled with that over the needles
Yeah,
that were
yeah,
involved. And he was like, I don't know how I convinced you to just pay it. I'm like, it's really cool. It's
yeah.
really fucking cool. It's all electrical signals, and cars, same
It
thing.
makes sense. That's the
Yeah.
thing. You, what, somebody quoted something about kids with ADD like stuff that's cool. And it's like it's just a really great piece of shorthand. It's like you just like stuff that's cool, and also you like the stuff that makes sense because it's like you're able to kind of go, okay, I can follow. Like I've done some electrical engineering, like I built an instrument that's a weird guitar thing, and that involved following a lot of electrical stuff all over the place, and it's so cool because it's tangible. Like I've got friends who are really into like coding for computer stuff, and there are a lot of things I want to do that would require that, but I don't think numbers, it's too abstract for me. And so I'm always like, once it's a physical thing or GUI or whatever, then I can visualize it and see how it all comes together. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, cars are very visceral. Like
Mhm.
when I finish the puzzle, it runs or it doesn't run.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I I love it. It's there's so many different cars, and everybody has their own brand and their own taste and what have you. But like, I love it all.
Mhm.
I love anything anybody has passion for. Like, all you have to do to start me on a new love affair is to talk about your passion. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
And it's wild. It's
Mhm.
really cool stuff. Like, and it's very visceral. It's very real.
Mhm.
An engine, when it runs, you feel it, you see
Mhm.
it. It creates heat. It creates all of these things, and it's what's always got me going. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I absolutely do. It's a weird analogy, but like when I bring somebody into the band, I'm like, look, the show cannot be the thing that you're living for. You have to love all of the aspects of going out on tour because you might have a shitty show, And so it's the same sort of thing. It's like the engine's running, that's cool, but knowing how the engine is running and knowing how all those parts work makes it so much cooler because it's like you can really, comprehend all of the little nuances that go into that. So,
Yep.
as I said, I'm really kind of just like winging it with the questions. Um, if you were me, like what would you ask you about? Like what's something really cool that you would think is a cool thing to talk about?
I mean, like I said before, my passion is in the the making things happen that shouldn't happen,
Hmm.
the putting things together, the Yoda bonds, and the the weird wheels on my car. This is the second set of pilot wheels I've put on it, and I I love that kind of stuff. So it's so hard for me to know what you should ask me because like I don't know where you want to get to. You know what I mean?
I don't have to
There's
really get to anywhere. Like that's the thing. Like
yeah,
we're doing the part that I want to do, which is not just kind of like, hey, this is a cool
right.
thing, kind of celebrating that.
Yep.
So here's a weird, very random car thing that came up the other day. I heard somebody mention something. They said Yugo in a commercial or whatever, and I was like, "You remember the Yugo?" I turned to my wife. I was like, "You remember the Yugo?" Like, I wonder if there are any of these that even are even on the road anymore.
There's Yugo people.
There are, yeah. I imagine there's
Yeah, there.
entire subcultures for almost everything. I knew
Yeah,
somebody
and then
who,
the weirder the car and the more niche it is, the more likely it is in lemons. This there's one thing behind me is a that's a buddy's car there at the bottom, and that was a poster hung up in one of the bathrooms, and I saw my buddy's car on it, and I was like, I have to have that. That's mine. He races an old Cadillac. It's got a hot LS under the hood with a NASCAR manual trans, and the car is so cool. And the old man is so cool. He's just an old tree guy. He would fit in with the likes of Vermin Supreme. Vermin Supreme has done some Lemons races.
oh no shit.
Yeah, we have a bunch of real old characters that they're just awesome people.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
like he creates the wildest things out of the back of his box truck with just tools everywhere, and it's absolute chaos. And that's the world I thrive in. That's the
Yeah.
stuff I love. um I went to work for a high-end exhaust manufacturer at one point. I won't drop their names, but they're not as nice as people think they are.
Mhm.
Anyway, I went and worked for them, and as soon as I walked in the shop, I felt like I was in the wrong place because the place felt sterile and
Mhm.
clean, and like I was the dirt.
Yeah.
And like I'm not a clean person. I don't do color in the lines very well. I'm unashamedly myself. Um, and so like messes are gonna happen, and I'm going to be a mess, and
Mhm.
and it'll shift from here to there. But like understand that I'm in control of my chaos, and
Mhm.
the people who just let me do my thing and stand out of my way benefit the most.
Right.
The sometimes shop management wants to come in and be like, hey, let's do this different or let's do that. And it's like you're playing with fire. Like maybe the fire will go the direction you want it to go,
Mhm.
but it might just jump ship entirely.
Right.
It's harnessed chaos, and nobody can predict what happens if you start poking at it and trying to lead it down the path you want to go down.
Yeah,
You know what I
particularly
mean?
everybody that works there, I assume, they have their system that they use that they know works.
Yep.
And, you know, in trying to push that into an order that is not conducive to those systems, it's not going to work as well. Like you're going to lose the thing that you know, it's about like delegating authority. It's about trusting the people that you work with and be like, look, I get that this is not how you would maybe the ideal situation, but it fucking works. And the ideal result is always the same. It happens, it gets fixed, the job gets done. And when you try and, you know, homogenize everybody so that they're all working the same, because nobody's brains are the same, you know?
Right.
Like they're not going to, you know, to a degree. I mean, there are certain situations like I want to go to a surgeon who's going to know exactly how things are, you know, should happen with that sort of thing. But you know, but I imagine even there, you know, there are going to be different systems differences from surgeon to surgeon about how that works.
Right.
I get
Whatever
the
works for
conversation.
that person and
Yeah.
gets us the most positive outcome, you know?
Mhm. Yeah.
And you definitely see some wild differences in our shop.
Hmm.
Um, I'm the mess, but I'm also the person that has to have all the new gadgets and gizmos and doodads, and like I have hundreds of thousands of dollars in tools. I have
Hmm.
a huge toolbox, and everybody else in the shop works out of little tiny toolboxes. And in some ways, I feel like, especially certain people I work with, I feel like they're just not ready to take ownership of the space around them. You know what I mean? They don't feel comfortable enough. And I've never struggled with that because I'm gonna take the space that I can take. And I I have I forget what I'm free spacing on the words right now, but I always feel like I'm in the way. I
Hmm.
always feel like I'm taking up too much space, but it comes with being a big person. I've always been big. I'm 6'3",
Right.
almost 300 pounds. I've been well over 300 pounds in my life. I take up the space I take,
Hmm.
and like it's as much for me as for anybody. Like you gotta be comfortable in the skin you're in. You gotta exist in your space, and if somebody doesn't like it, you got to expect that they're grown up enough to let you know.
Right. And then you work it
And
out, you know, like that's part of the
right,
other part of being an adult. It's like, oh, okay, you know, let's figure out how to make it all come together.
right.
Yeah.
And as long as I keep my mess in my space,
Right.
everybody's like, okay,
Yeah.
it comes and it goes. You clean up when you clean up. It is what it is.
I'm
And
a big
being in a
fan of
shop,
that method of trusting, like, you know, it's like we're all on the same team and we know we're on the same team, you know.
yeah. It's been I've been at this shop for like 2 years now, and it's been a slow roll, but I think the thing I love the most is how together everybody is in the shop, and there's just laughter constantly throughout the day. And I hear other people talking about how they run their shop and how they don't let people talk during the day. And I'm like, uh, if it works for you, great, but I would be out of there so fast, so fast. I couldn't even imagine like being micromanaged like that.
Yeah, if you're
And
not, if people aren't happy doing what they do, like they're, or if they are happy, they're going to do better jobs because you want them invested in the quality of the work, and so if you're not, you know, like if telling a joke or whatever, listening to music or whatever the thing is conducive to that and doesn't hurt anything, who gives a fuck, you know? Yeah.
I have a very wide range of music tastes. Like literally anything could be on in the shop whenever you walk in. And one of the coworkers I work with, he's a older man from Zimbabwe, or it was Rhodesia when he was born there, but Rhodesia doesn't exist anymore. But he's just an older guy, and he's got, you know, a British accent, and he's so funny. I love him to death. But like, he can't stand certain kinds of music, and it'll put him in a bad mood, and it'll just change things for the entire day. So I'll usually just change it. It's whatever. As soon as he says something,
Right.
I just need him to be like, oh, whatever. Usually it's so angry. When it's metal, he's like, it's so angry. And sometimes when it's, you know, when it's something I want to defend, I'm like, yeah, but he's right to be angry. You listen to what he says. He's got reasons to be angry. He is angry. You're right. But he's angry for a reason.
I'm a big fan of that whole thing. Like, yeah, like you know, I do a lot of real angry music, and my goal is always to like articulate like this is exactly what the problem is, and this is why I'm angry about it, you know, and you should be too, you know. So
Yeah.
yeah, you know, I think that's cool. I think it's cool that
It was
getting him to think about.
a very recent example is Rage Against the Machines. It was Killing in the Name of, and he's so angry. And I'm like, yeah, but he should be angry.
Right.
People are being shot in the street, and people are getting medals and honors for doing it.
Right.
You're allowed to be angry about some things.
Yeah,
and
yeah, oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
and like the so angry has died down, but like, I also understand that he has sensitivities that I don't understand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He grew up in a war-torn country. He heard things being screamed at people that nobody should hear.
Right.
And so like, when he's like, this bothers me, cool. We'll put something else on. I'll find something else.
For you. Good for you for being aware of that and recognizing, you know, seeing that world beyond, you know, beyond, you know, that matters so much, and it's far too rare. Like,
he told me a story, and he didn't mean it to be impactful. He just told this fun story about how his family used to go to the coast during the summer, and how he always thought it was weird that his mom would like have a machine gun and they'd be in a convoy. And I was like, man, that's actually a really deep story, but you don't mean it to. He's just like, yeah, you know, and I'm like, can you imagine being a kid seeing your mom grip an Uzi because rebels might come out of the forest, and those rebels might have good reason for what they're doing, but like, there's so
they're
many.
still non-combatants, so they shouldn't be, you know.
Right. They shouldn't.
Right.
They shouldn't. But there's a lot of things in the world that shouldn't happen.
We were in Cartagena, and we were on just like this tourist fucking thing, and we got on the bus to go to wherever we were going, and in the back is a guy with a, you know, big fucking submachine gun or big machine gun of some kind, and the guy goes, he's on the bus because nothing is going to happen to you. And that was that which sounded very much like a frequently things happen to people like you.
Yeah, sometimes just having the bigger stick.
Right. We were in a resort, and I was walking down on the beach, and I was going back up to where we were, and the cop stopped me, and I was like, I don't speak your language, you don't speak mine. I get that I look this way, but I need to go over there where my wife is, trying to explain that to somebody. So yeah, it was a very intense place to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I grew up all over. We were constantly moving, but partly was in Southern California, and I was introduced to my sister's family as part of the family, so I've always been part of the family, and it's a large Hispanic family, and I grew up on this hill where people that look like me don't normally go. You know what I mean? And I never thought anything of it because that's just that's home. What are you talking about? And they're like, no, people get shot there, and I'm like, no, they don't. That's never happened. And they're like, yeah, no, it happens, and I'm like, I don't think you're right. I know them. I know everybody on this entire hill, and they all know me. What do you mean? And it's like, yeah, that's why you can go and come. And
No, that shit's we were in El Paso, and my wife Donna, who's, you know, 5'10" without shoes, with shoes, 6 foot, tall, beautiful, blonde. And she left the hotel and walked down the street to the gas station to buy some booze or something. And right over on the other side is the glowing line of Juarez. And yeah, she walks into the place, and they're like, "You should not be out here by yourself, pretty American blonde woman, you know." So yeah, I mean, it's scary, you know,
Yeah.
that kind of shit is real and is you know,
And I'm also very aware and thankful for I don't look like somebody you want to mess with. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
I
it is a
carry
nice
myself
benefit.
with a certain demeanor. I'm 6'3", I'm nearly 300 pounds. People don't go, oh yeah, there's an easy target.
Yeah, 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 exactly.
Bullies for sure, but like not on the street, not in any way where like I was physically. I'm gonna go where I want to go, and
Yeah.
likelihood nobody's gonna say anything unless it's the person with a gun.
Yeah, and also, if you grow up in an area where these potentials exist, you learn the language of how to carry yourself. I was talking about that with somebody the other night. I was just like, yeah, nobody fucks with me because I know where I'm going and I know how to carry myself. Like it's just like, look, I'm going from here to there, and I'll go through you, and it's not like I'm just like, you
Yeah,
know, it's like if you just know how to carry yourself, that goes
yeah. You don't look like a target.
right. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Because I mean,
I
like, yeah,
I got yelled at recently. Well, not super recently, but recently enough at Disney because I was trying to get the gorilla to throw feces, and like I was communicating with my body language and just talking to the gorilla across the ravine, and somebody from Disney politely came up and said, "Sir, you need to stop right now. You have no idea what you're playing with." And I was like, "No, no, I do." And he's like, "I think you do, and that's what scares me more. You have to go."
yeah, yeah, yeah. They frown on that.
Yeah, I listen. I was like, as soon as he throws it, I'm gonna duck out. Some family's gonna get nailed. But they're like, he's gonna jump the ravine. All right, he's gonna come for you. And I'm like, I'd like to see it. I'd like to see it. It might be the last thing I ever see, but it'd be really cool.
Yeah, yeah.
At
Well,
least
yeah,
three
you know, if you're
people.
going to go out and you're going to have something on your obituary, that's certainly a satisfying, you know, fine way to go.
Mauled to death by a gorilla that jumped a ravine to get to you because you were
Yeah,
talking too much shit with your body language.
yeah, yeah. That's what I'm saying.
I'm here for it. We've all got to go. Like, at least let's make it memorable.
That's true. That's true. All right. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate I love seeing the insight into these and the excitement, but insight into this whole other thing that I know nothing about. So
Right.
it's very cool. So if you want, normally I ask where people can find you. I don't know how private you are with that sort of thing, but if you want to tell people about like your
I
race and
mean,
stuff, where
you
people can.
you can find me most anywhere under Shameless or Shameless TR. Jeff Herther on Facebook. You're welcome to look me up. I am who I am. I'm not selling anything. I'm not making anything. I've got nothing to push. Um, but I do exist, and you can check out my cool cars. And I post weird stuff and things that only make sense to other mechanics. And we have fun. So
That's
mostly
yeah,
Facebook and Instagram.
that's awesome though. Right on. Well, thank you so much. My hope is that this will be out, and I want to try and get it out by the end of April. Uh, I'm giving myself like a few more days to do a couple more of these, but I've got everything kind of blocked out about how it's all going to work. So it's just kind of the logistics of it, and then figuring out the best way to shotgun all of it out and distribute it. So, what's the cat's name?
This is Stormy. She came to us as Chloe, but she's Stormy now.
Yeah, well, the cats know what they need to have their names for.
Yeah, she's super cool. She
Yeah.
loves people. She doesn't love other cats, so she gets her own little space away from all the other cats, and
Our
we have a good
Sophie
time.
was very much like that. She's like, she'll love on you. She hates every other cat in the world. Like, yeah, uh, Yeah, like it was just not. It was never good if that they were in the same place. But yeah, so excellent. Well, thank you so much. And I really learned from.
Thank you.
Oh, actually, I do have one other question I wanted to ask you.
Absolutely.
I don't know if I've seen any of these used recently, but every once in a while I'd go into a mechanic and they'd have a gun that has a strobe in it. Do you know what I'm talking about? What does
Yep.
that do?
It's a timing light.
Okay.
So what they're doing is they are finding the one probe goes onto a spark plug wire, and then the other probe just gets power and ground so that it can light the light. And it is letting you know when the electrical signal is going down that wire to the spark plug to actually ignite the ignition, to start ignition. And they're using the light to look at the spinning crankshaft,
Mhm.
and it will only light as the thing's happening. So there's marks on the timing cover and on the crankshaft where you're at. So
Mhm.
then you can then adjust your timing to a degree.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of figured it was something like that, but yeah, it was.
Those are very old world tools. We don't use those anymore.
Yeah, well, so I was to say I don't think I had seen him in a long time. It's funny in the DJ world on the Technics record players. There's dots around the outside of the record player, three different sets, and another on a light on it, and you can look down, and with the light flashing just slightly, the dots become a solid line depending on the speed of it, and so it's like this visual cue of exactly what speed the turntable is going at. So it's
Right.
a real similar sort of mechanism there,
Yep.
but.
I'll say a lot of bad things about older cars, but we came up with some really cool ways of figuring out some really cool things. And
Yeah,
I'm glad that we stepped there to step here.
yeah, technology's fascinating. It's one of those things that you can feel as a human. It's like, look at what we did. We're like these little bags of salt and water, and we managed to make shit that goes into space or, drives around and doesn't fall apart. That shit's fucking cool.
We
So,
have one of my coworkers was using it earlier this week. It's a paddle that you put on the back of the coil because we don't have spark plug wires anymore. We don't have distributors. We Most ignition is done by a coil on top of a plug. It's called coil on plug ignition. And this paddle lets you see when the when the coil itself is firing.
mhm,
So that's kind of the same thing, but we don't adjust by turning a distributor anymore.
mhm.
We now have to, all that's done through the computer and
Yeah,
it's programmed
yeah,
called tuning.
yeah,
Lots of tuners out there. A lot of people who don't know what they're doing, messing with things that they shouldn't.
right.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, I
So
can't even. I imagine everything is all tied into the machines now. I hate that. Like, it's for as much as I'm into technology, I like, and I get the logic of it, but I always worry about the better is not always better.
yeah, we all draw our own lines, and I think my 2010 Acura is like the perfect line of computer and analog. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? It does all the things I want it to do and none of the things that I don't need it to do. I
Well,
don't need lane keep assist and I don't need all these other things. I don't need a car to tell me that I should rest because my head's drooping. Like my head's going to move around as it
right.
moves around. All right. I don't need my car yelling at me.
Yeah, our van will periodically yell at us. It's like, put your hands back on the wheel. I'm like, they're on the wheel. What do you want? Like,
So I don't know if you have it or not, but if you have their Chrysler and a bunch of other people use this cool thing. There's like a little bump on the top of your steering wheel with a little black bar. Point a camera at it, and you'll see the infrared lasers they
oh
use
wow,
to tell if your head's drooping or not.
yeah, hmm. Wow, that's crazy. That's
Yeah.
amazing. So, all right. Well, again, thank you so much. And
Thank you very much for having me.
one of the other episodes I did a few weeks ago is a guy who built his car. And I'll pass him back and forth because I think he'd probably like to see this. And if you want to see that, it's like he's into racing and all this other stuff and built it from the ground up. So,
Cool shit.
right on. All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.